Is yet another month in the world of Marvel Contest of Champions, and in this video we're going to be looking at Paragon Gauntlet for the month of August. And by the way, Jack-O-Lantern literally shreds everybody and is a fantastic pick and option. I hope everybody is considering using him with this particular Paragon Gauntlet, and of course the event quests like Valiant or the lower ones as well. Let's get into the game. Right, so over to the event quest, over to Paragon Gauntlet, and of course, your options. For those curious on my team, when it eventually loads, there we go. We have got Hulk, King Groot, Jack-O-Lantern. If I'm being honest, they all worked in their own special ways, but Hulk, I actually made a slight mistake on, which I'll showcase in some footage, but I'll point out where the mistake is, whether or not people are going to make it, not make it. And that's just around the Quicksilver fight. If you're using the choice node, then that's fine. If you aren't, then this is applicable to you. So just to kind of point out, if you haven't seen the objective, which I have done, so it's not popped up right there. But if there is an objective, of course, the objective in mind is to not use a choice node. For most players that do not have the Paragon and above objective, you're going to be fine with switching out to different champions, and that is going to be the key thing. Switching champions on the choice nodes. So we'll go over each individual fight with a little bit of detail, but of course, something to just showcase and say I'm using champions that I'm not planning to switch up. So therefore, I'm using Hulk for the first two fights, which, by the way, Hulk works fine for the Scarlet Witch fight. He does not work, however, well enough for. He works okay against the Quicksilver fight, but look, if you're setting up a different way, you'll likely go, well, I'll do like Cheelth for cleansing some debuffs. That'll also cover maybe Scarlet Witch Sigil. Then I'll switch out Chee'ilth. But I didn't do that, of course. I have the objective to kind of consider. So let's go over some options. And by the way, if you want to see a write-up, it's in the description. I'll put a write-up to the champions and some options as well. But we'll go over with some footage just to explain a few things. So Scarlet Witch Sigil has buff toggle. That can be quite frustrating. So a champion that maybe nullifies that buff or nullifies the buff could be a really good option. If you've got Titania, probably a better option. If you've got a science champion that is poison immune, could be a good option as well. Always and every time you're faced with different things. You know, She-Hulk has a means to deal with Unstoppable. There's Unstoppable on this champion. So there's loads of little things you have to likely say to yourself, what is frustrating about it? Root. Okay, save back a special attack, throw special attack, gets you out of the rooting. When either champion blocks an attack, well, don't block an attack, or bring a poison immune champion. Maybe bring a buff immune option. So there are going to be various different options to kind of look at how this fight plays out, but it's an SP1 rotation. Just keep the enemy to an SP1 rotation, and it's ultimately fine. I mean, I took in Hulk, and yeah, I got hit occasionally with the buff toggle, but when the champion goes unstoppable. But I suppose if you've got something like buff suppression with the likes of Dr. Doom or any kind of like Mystic, you could probably get around that kind of way of looking at it, but again, it's down to personal preference. On the subject of Quicksilver, you've got Crit Me, Baby One More Time, Spry, Debuff, Sadistic Tendencies, Non-Critical Experiments, and if I'm being brutally honest, Bubble Shield is probably the only thing that's frustrating about it. Yeah, okay, the Crush debuff is annoying from this one. I think that comes off Non-Critical Experiments. Or maybe it doesn't, but it just kind of felt like it was not. I think that's further on with the Crush, but this just felt like a load of debuffs. And if you've got a load of debuffs on you, guess what? Cleanse champions for the win. Baron Zemo, Black Cat, Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi could actually be a really good one because he does have like a slow debuff. Black Cat, Black Panther, Civil War, Cheelth, yeah, Jabari Panther, Mantis. Those are going to be some options that I would recommend, especially because loads of debuffs will go on you. You need to do crit, just get rid of the debuffs, not an issue. But I used Hulk because I didn't have any other option, and I wanted to save my Jack-O-Lantern and King Groot for the further fights. But again, it's always down to personal preference, personal choice of what is going to be good, especially if you're not going to be using any of the choice nodes. So we move on to Magneto. Magneto has .com, damaging effects deal 25% more damage to the defender, and they take 90% less damage from all sources unless they're suffering from a damaging effect. This is where the amazing work of Jack-O-Lantern comes in. You're literally just hitting the champion, and regardless of having stuff like, I think he has like an effect on him that that kind of like seems like it suppresses, like purified slate. Like you could literally just hit the champion, like just hit the champion, 5-hit combo, and you're doing plasma damage that is just so darn nice. You're like, I bypass this, I bypass this node. Like it's one of the best options out there. Other than that, I would go with any like damaging debuff based champion. Also, any champion that is not #metal. That is something I do need to stress to a lot of players. If you are thinking of taking a champion, like, oh, like, this champion's good, but like I was going to recommend. By the way, I do not recommend this, Shuri. But then Magneto has that 90% like shock potency reduction, so it's like, why bring that? So don't bring that. Rupture-based champions, poison-based champions. You could incinerate-based champions, like Human Torch may be good here. You could use Human Torch against Scarlet Witch Sigil and then keep him in until like here, use him. Yeah, look at the options and don't be scared to kind of like, you know, choose some. I think even like Onslaught may be relatively good here. I could be wrong. I could be wrong with that one. I want to say don't do that, but I've seen people do it before where they've used Onslaught against Magneto. But maybe don't do that. Maybe just stick to the ones that are kind of recommended. Even Wiccan, with any kind of like damaging debuff based champion, I think just to go for. Keep champion to SP1, please. Oh, and also polka dot power. Attack gains no power from landing or receiving attacks. Instead, they generate fixed X amount. Yeah, that's why Jack-O-Lantern doesn't need it, like bypasses all of this. Like he does. Like the footage that I'm throwing up on screen, you're like, he bypasses it. You're damn right he bypasses it. He's next level. So against Lady Deathstrike, who has sharpened claws. When the attacker blocks an attack, they're inflicted with 5 bleed debuffs. I would go for any champion that is bleed immune. Okay, I went with class advantage. I went with King Groot. Probably not the wisest idea of champions, but I had a plan. I wanted to test him out against Solvarch. That didn't go according to plan, but I'll explain why that didn't go according to plan in a little bit. However, like, if it's stupid and works, it's not stupid. King Groot stayed the course, even though maybe I've made a mistake in kind of bringing King Groot for this. This is something that I'm proving in Battlegrounds. Anytime that I've used him, he is a survivability and sustaining god. Like, I know some people like rip on him like quite a bit, but he stays alive a lot more than other champions. So having a bleed immunity, helpful. SP1 rotation, no. SP2 rotation, not quite sure on that one. But SP3 and waiting it out largely does fine, because then you're able to regen and just top up all your health. So yes, I'd obviously do recommend. Other than that, I would have chosen like much better like cosmic champions, with the matter of fact. But also because King Groot has a purification based element to his kit, anytime that I was being hit by ruptures, I was then shrugging them off, and that was helpful as well. And that played, of course, into abilities, and of course played into the longer I stayed alive, the more damage that I did, and exited that fight on 100% health. So, hey, who's laughing now? Other than that, maybe I would have chosen like Kingpin, Cheelth, Hercules, possibly Black Cat, Black Panther, the same people that I kind of recommended before, and maybe Magneto. Magneto could be used in 2 fights. Like you could, if you're using the choice node, switch out and use Magneto later on against Solvarch. Again, up to you. Solvarch. Maybe I should say that correctly before people kind of flame me on that one. So going into the final 2 fights, just watch out for the special attack throwing and pick out what is frustrating. If you can get an intercept off, great, right? And if you can understand the stun immunity being an issue, great. If you can keep the champion to an SP1, that's great. And Daunting Blockade, like, that's somewhat annoying, but if you've got a champion that is inverted control immune. Now, I would have opted if I didn't go for Jack-O-Lantern, which, by the way, is the best option here. Cheeses this fight completely. Just an SP2 and it's done. Maybe even an SP1 could have been enough. I don't know. I was like too wrapped up in throwing an SP2 and going, huh, that's the first time I've played that champion, played against that champion. Oh, okay, fight's done. So yeah, SP2 and gone. Intercept in. Of course, ramping up the damage with the Fury passive. That's what I can say. Inverted control champion. Hit after hit her after she throws a special attack because she goes into a channeling state, so therefore is vulnerable. Inverted controls for the win, and look out to get your dexes in, because if you get hit, it's not great. And maybe have yourself a special attack ready to go just in case you're rooted to get yourself out of said route. Right, finishing off just finally. First of all, mistake that I made. If I'm facing up against this champion again and I've got the option to suppress any of that armor, I probably would go down that route. And the same thing with like a Fate Seal or a Stagger if it's possible. But I can't remember if those are passives, effects, but they're definitely not buffs. And suppressing them, of course, becomes a bit of a difficulty. So you got to watch out for the Incinerates. Again, as long as you don't, and this is the mistake I made, whenever the defender blocks an attack, they have a 70% chance to gain a 10% reverb passive. That reverb passive, I think, yeah, that is the thing that kind of screwed me over, because I was taking damage and I was hitting into the Self Archer's block a lot of the times, so that's on me. But, oh, it is an armor up passive. I suppose you can suppress an armor up passive, but in any case, Fate Seal champions, Stagger champions, possibly able to do that. Yeah, I need to kind of look into that a bit more. But if you got an Incinerate immune champion, can be very good. You know, when either champion blocks an attack, they are inflicted with an Incinerate debuff, dealing 35% of their opponent's attack as energy damage. So that, again, helpful. Maybe look at Incinerate immune options for this. And watch out for the special attacks. If you can get the rotation in right, it's okay. Other than that, can be a little bit tricky. Anyway, that's going to be it for the video. Who did you use? Who was effective for you? And yeah, check out some other content. I'm going to be doing some other coverage right now, seeing what the next video is going to be about. I'll see you soon. Have a lovely day and goodbye.